After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the meaning and categories of the sexual offences, the definition of rape after the Criminal Amendment Act of 2013, the procedure of examination of sexual offence victims, the procedure of examination of sexual offence accused, as well as the adultery and incest, the other type of natural sexual offences. Shannon Elder has said earlier, your perspective on life comes from the cage you were held captive in. Sexual offences are probably one of the most heinous crimes prevailing in the world, and sex offenders are persons with one of the most degenerative mental status. Sexual offences can be described as acts of sexual intercourse or sexual interference with a person or animal against the provisions of law. They are classified as natural sexual offences, unnatural sexual offences, and third category is the sexual perversions. Amongst the natural sexual offences, the examples are rape, adultery and incest. The unnatural sexual offences include sodomy, buccal coitus and tribadism, and there is a whole list of sexual perversions. So, in this particular module, I shall be covering only upon the natural sexual offences. Rape. The word rape originally denoted violent seizure of property, later used as carrying of a woman by force, which have been derived from the Latin word rapiere, which means to seize. Under the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, which came into force on the 3rd day of June 2013, under section 375 IPC, rape has been defined as follows. A man is said to commit rape if he penetrates his penis to any extent into the vagina, mouth, urethra or anus of a woman, or makes her to do so with him or any other person, or inserts to any extent any object or part of the body, not being the penis, into the vagina, mouth, urethra or anus of a woman, or makes her to do so with him or any other person, or manipulates any part of the body of a woman so as to cause penetration into the vagina, mouth, urethra or anus of a woman, or makes her to do so with him or any other person, or applies his mouth to the vagina, urethra or anus of a woman, or makes her to do so with him or any other person. All these under the circumstances falling under any of the following 7 descriptions, that is, first, against her will, without her consent, then even with her consent, when her consent has been obtained by putting her or any person in whom she is interested in fear of death or hurt, then fourthly, with her consent, when the man knows that he is not her husband and that her consent has been given because she believes that he is another man to whom she is or believes herself to be lawfully married. Then fifthly, with her consent, when at the time of giving such consent by reason of unsoundness of mind or intoxication, or the administration by him personally or through another of any stupefying or unwholesome substance, she is unable to understand the nature and the consequences of the act to which she gives consent. Sixthly, with or without her consent, when she is under 18 years of age. And seventhly, when she is unable to communicate consent. There are 2 exceptions to this scenario. One is the medical procedure or intervention shall not constitute rape, and second is the sexual intercourse or sexual acts by a man with his own wife, the wife not being under 15 years of age is also not rape. The punishment for rape is defined under section 376 IPC as subclause 1 376(1), that whosoever except in the cases provided for in subsection 2 commits rape shall be punished with a rigorous imprisonment of either description for a term which shall not be less than 7 years, but which may extend up to imprisonment of life, and shall also be liable to fine. Secondly, whosoever being a police officer commits rape, 3 scenarios: within the limits of the police station to which such police officer is appointed, or in the premises of any station house, or on a woman in such police officer's custody or in the custody of a police officer subordinate to such police officer, or being a public servant commits rape on a woman in such public servant's custody or in the custody of a public servant subordinate to such public servant, or being a member of the armed forces deployed in an area by the central or state government commits rape in such area, or being on the management or on the staff of a jail, remand home or other place of custody established by or under any law for the time being in force, or of a women's or children institution commits rape on any inmate of such jail, remand home, place of institution, or being on the management or on the staff of a hospital commits rape on a woman in that hospital, or being a relative, guardian or teacher of a person in a position of trust or authority towards the woman commits rape on such woman, or commits rape during a communal or sectarian violence, or commits rape on a woman knowing her to be pregnant, or commits rape on a woman when she is under 16 years of age, or commits rape on a woman incapable of giving consent, or being in a position of control or dominance over a woman commits rape on such woman, or commits rape on a woman suffering from mental or physical disability, or while committing rape causes grievous bodily harm or maims or disfigures or endangers the life of a woman, or commits rape repeatedly on the same woman, shall be punished with rigorous imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 10 years, but which may extend to imprisonment for life, which shall mean imprisonment for the remainder of that person's natural life and shall also be liable to fine. Under section 376 IPC, the 5 subsection defines the punishment for offence of rape falling under any of those circumstances. Now, how to do the medico-legal examination of alleged victim of rape? A doctor can directly examine a survivor who reports to the hospital for seeking medical examination first without lodging the FIR. That is, a police requisition is not mandatory. The doctor himself can then inform the police accordingly as per the request of the patient or the victim. A survivor may come to the hospital for only treatment purpose for the assault, and section 39 CRPC, the doctor is not bound to inform the police if the survivor is not willing to do so. However, informed refusal shall also be documented by the doctor. Neither the court nor the police can force a rape survivor to undergo medical examination without her or her lawful guardian's consent, depending upon the age. For a victim who is over the age of 12 years, a written informed consent is taken for examination as well as collection of material evidence. If the age of the person is less than 12 years or the person is mentally unsound, the consent of the legal guardian is taken. In case of any invasive procedures like per vaginal or per speculum or per rectal examination, the age of the consent has to be 18 years and above. It is very much mandatory for a support person, either in the form of a family member, rape counselor or a female nurse, to be present at the time of examination, not only to assist the physician, who shall be preferably female, but also to prevent allegations of sexual assault against the physician if the physician is a male, and as well as to provide the mental support to the victim. The medico-legal examination should include complete history, physical examination as well as collection of material evidence for laboratory examination, which are now being discussed in detail. The history. The purpose of the history taking includes the detailed history of the incident and other medical history so as to gather information which will help in the management of the case legally. General medical history, that is any past history of any major injury or any illness, for example any bleeding disorder, or whether the victim is on an medication or not. Then the sexual history, whether the victim attained menarche. If yes, then a detailed history of the menstrual cycle has to be taken regarding the frequency, regularity and volume of the menstrual blood. Then whether the victim had been sterilized or does she use any contraceptives has to be asked. The marital and obstetric history has to be taken regarding number of pregnancies, the most recent consensual sexual intercourse, any history of existing pregnancy, any past history of termination of pregnancy, past history of any venereal disease, whether treated or not. Then the history of the incident. Then the following points are to be included while taking history regarding the incident. That is, the time and location of the incident, the specific nature of the alleged assault, whether the penetration was vaginal, oral or anal, whether the penetration was accomplished or attempted with penis, finger or any other object, whether she experienced pain at the time of the incident or subsequently, whether any body fluids were left on the victim, whether any instruments or restraints were used or not, number of assailants present and their physical description if she is able to recall such information, whether any resistance given by her and if yes, then in what manner, was there any use of condom or any foam or jelly or lubricant, whether or not there were any activities which could be possibly interfere with the collection of material evidence like changing of clothes, taking bath, urinating, defecating, all these. Then coming on to the examination. This is strictly conducted in the presence of another female nurse after ensuring total privacy and should be done gently by explaining each and every step. It should be thoroughly done without missing out in any of the findings. The general examination, the written informed consent is taken from the victim or from the legal guardian depending upon the situation before proceeding the examination. The general appearance of the victim is recorded, any disarrangement or damage to or any stains on clothings, any sign of emotional instability, gait, whether conscious, cooperative or well oriented to time, place and person or not, that has to be recorded. The vital parameters are to be recorded, at least 2 marks of identification are to be recorded. One large clean white sheet of paper is spread over the floor and the victim is asked to stand over the sheet of the paper and to undress herself and collect any material that falls onto that paper during the process. The fingernails are examined for any damage and any material which may have accumulated under the fingernails. They are scraped off into a cellophane packet which is then sealed, labeled and forwarded to forensic science laboratory for the needful. Any presence of fresh or dried stains of blood, semen, dirt, mud etc. on the body. If they are present, then they are swabbed or scrapped into the appropriate containers, sealed, labeled and forwarded to FSL for the needful. Careful and meticulous examination has to be done for presence of any external injuries like any sign of strain, bite marks etc. Then the follow-up examination of the injuries should be done as injuries like deep bruise or bite marks may be visible after 48 hours. Then after general examination, coming on to the local examination. The victim is made to lie in the lithotomy position and examination is carried out. First we do the external examination and then internal. The external genitalia and its surroundings are examined, whether pubic hair matted or not are seen. They are combed for the specimen collection, for example any foreign hair. Then the clippings are also taken for comparison, whether any bruising present over inner aspect of thighs and labia, that has to be noted. Then internal examination, a disposable vaginal speculum is used. If a child gives no history of penetration, then a per vaginal or per speculum examination may not be necessary. In case the injuries are not visible but suspected, then a 1% toluidine blue dye test can be done. If there is any vaginal discharge present, then comment upon the texture, color, odor etc. The introitus is inspected and following points are to be specifically noted. Is the hymen ruptured or not? If ruptured, what is the site, nature and extent of damage? What is the age of the injury? Presence of intact hymen should be documented, but it does not rule out vaginal penetration. The collection of material evidence, that is washings from the posterior fornix, vaginal swabs, they are to be collected. The bimanual examination of the uterus to assess the size and consistency of the uterus, signs of any pre-existing pregnancy and tenderness resulting from trauma sustained during the assault. Then the anoscopic examination to be done only in cases of anal bleeding or severe anal pain or suspected presence of any foreign body in the rectum. The colposcopic examination is required to be done when injuries are not appreciated by naked eye and when collection of photographic evidence is required. Then toluidine blue dye test. This test is used to assist in the identification of any recent genital and perianal injuries. 1% aqueous solution of toluidine blue dye is applied over the posterior fourchette and fossa navicularis after the initial examination and swab collection is done. After allowing a minute to the dye to uptake, the excess is removed by using any lubricant like KY jelly or 10% acetic acid. The dye uptake is considered positive and confirms injury when there is residual blue coloration of the laceration or its border. The abrasions from the forced cunnilingus can result in a diffuse pattern of dye uptake. The previously recommended two-finger test is not performed in a case of sexual assault and is considered to be of no significance. The laboratory examination. All the materials collected during the general and local examinations are sealed, labeled and forwarded to FSL by maintaining a proper chain of evidence for further evaluation. A list of material evidence which are commonly sent are listed here as the piece of clothing which is blood, semen, mud or dirt stained, foreign debris that is hair or fiber or any fresh or dried secretion over the body, the fingernail scrapings, the combings from the pubic hair and clippings from the victim for comparison. The posterior fornix and vaginal washings are sent for histochemical and histological examination for the detection of seminal fluid. Then vaginal swabs for the detection of spermatozoa or any sexually transmitted diseases. Then the inspection of wet mount of vaginal swab slides are also done. The vaginal swabs are made into a wet mount slide and are inspected under light microscope for the presence of at least one intact spermatozoa. The presence of motile sperm in the vaginal pool is the best indicator of recent ejaculation. The absence of the same, however, does not rule out the possibility, as sperm may become non-motile within hours of entering the vaginal cavity. Apart from these points, some other samples which have legal significance are the blood for the grouping and baseline serology test for the sexually transmitted diseases and presence of ethanol or any other intoxicating agents. Then urine needs to be collected for presence of ethanol or any other intoxicating agents. Presence of ethanol or any other intoxicating agents in blood and urine or vomitus may conclude to the fact that the assailant used these agents to subdue the victim before the act. Then the medico-legal examination of accused in cases of alleged rape. The examination of rape accused should preferably be conducted by the same physician who has examined the victim, and it can be done without consent also. The points to be looked for are the examination of the clothing and garments for recent seminal stains, the examination of the genitalia for presence of any disease or deformity, whether prepuce is retractable or not in case of an uncircumcised person, then absence of smegma under the prepuce. This is a thick cheesy secretion with disagreeable odor consisting of desquamated epithelium and smegma bacilli. Smegma is generally wiped off during sexual intercourse. However, the absence of smegma is not a conclusive evidence of sexual intercourse, and the actual presence can be taken as evidence that the person did not participate in the act. Examination of the shaft of penis for the presence of vaginal epithelial cells should be done, and this is done by wiping off the shaft with a clean moist filter paper, which is then exposed to vapors of Lugol's iodine. A brown color indicates a positive test. Suspect's penis is also washed with saline and the material stained with papinococcus is stained for presence of vaginal epithelium. Presence of any tear of the frenulum sustained by the accused himself. Presence of any blood stain, fresh or dried. Then potency of a man is the usual and normal state, and it always be presumed to do so unless the contrary is proved. Signs of any forcible sexual intercourse by the accused over the victim, such as injuries over the face or bite marks over the upper limbs or anywhere else, tears on the frenulum or abrasion over the shaft of penis. Then the sexually transmitted disease to be examined for by serological examination of blood and bacteriological examination. Then the other category of natural sexual offence is the adultery. Under section 497 IPC, adultery is defined as whosoever has sexual intercourse with a person whom he knows or has a reason to believe to be the wife of another man without the consent or connivance of that man. Such intercourse not amounting to rape is the guilty of offence of adultery. Section 498 IPC describes the offence of enticing or taking away or detaining a married woman with criminal intent. Adultery can be committed only by a man and is punishable by 5 years imprisonment with or without fine. A woman is not punishable for adultery. Fornication refers to consensual sexual intercourse between two people not married to each other. The third category of natural sexual offence is the incest. Incest means sexual intercourse by a man with a woman who is closely related to him by blood within the prohibited degrees of the relationship. For example, sexual intercourse between a father and daughter, between brother and a sister, which is most common. And in India, of course, the incest is not a punishable offence. Incest occurs in case of mentally defective persons who are unable to understand the prohibitions, where alcohol removes the natural inhibitions, or where brother and sister separated during childhood and met after long time as strangers, or where close relations has to live in intimacy. To summarize this topic, the word rape means violent seizure of property, initially later used to carrying off a woman by force and derived from the word rapier. It is very much mandatory for a support person either in the form of a family member, rape counselor or a female nurse to be present at the time of examination, not only to assist the physician, which is to be done by a female preferably, but also to prevent allegation of sexual assault against the male doctor, as well as to provide the mental support to the victim. The Criminal Amendment Act, the definition of the rape has been revised totally, revamped rather, in 2013. The marital and obstetric history has to be taken regarding number of pregnancies, the most recent consensual sexual intercourse, any history of existing pregnancy, any history of termination of pregnancy, past history of any disease, whether treated or not, all these. Detailed history of the incident is required to correlate with the alleged findings. The examination is strictly conducted in the presence of another female nurse. Should be done gently by explaining each and every step, and it should be thoroughly done without missing out in any findings. All the relevant fluids, biological fluids must be collected properly and sent to the forensic science lab for the detailed examination. The incest means sexual intercourse by a man related with blood. The adultery is the consensual sexual intercourse between man and woman during the continuance of the marriage.